I kind of wondered why Gary looked happy as a duck this morning. And now I know, that's for sure. What a great morning, for sure. I want to introduce this new ministry to you, kind of using a by-the-numbers approach, if that's okay. So we'll call that the Reveal method. And we'll start with the number 800,000. This is a number that represents the number of Americans that will join an elite club annually, but not by choice. It's the New Widows Club. 800,000 Americans annually. Let's bring it a little bit closer to home. You may or may not know, but we have over 20 widows here at the 4th Avenue Church. And the Bible is not silent on this matter. In fact, the Bible is quite vocal. In the New Testament alone, there are 26 thematic references to the responsibility that we have as believers, as members of the kingdom, to take care of widows. I heard recently in a sermon that in the Bible as a whole, there were up to 103 references of this important biblical responsibility that we have. And so responding to that responsibility, there's been a small group of folks that have been meeting for the last several months, and they've been working on the launch of this really important ministry. And really they had a couple of different objectives. How do we serve and care for our widows well? So there's an education component, teaching all of us to do that well. And the second part, the second bullet, is around, and I thought this was interesting, preparing married couples for that inevitable day when they will say goodbye to a loved one, at least in this life, and helping them to be proactive in that particular planning and the importance of planning. So the preparation begins with a half-day workshop. On March 3rd, 2018, just a couple of weeks from now, there will be a half-day workshop here at 4th Avenue. That ministry is sponsoring that particular workshop, and the workshop will be based on a book called From One Widow to Another by Miriam Neff. No one better than Miriam Neff to share with us a little bit about the content and the context for her book, much of which will be shared at that workshop as well.
Can you imagine an event in your life that you don't want? A crisis that catapults you into something exciting and fulfilling. You have a new purpose and a new passion in life. I'm Miriam Neff, and that's exactly what has happened to me. 3 years ago, I became a widow. At 19, I married an incredible man, my Indiana University sweetheart, and we packed a lot of living into the 41 years we had together. He became the vice president of Moody Broadcasting. I became a counselor in public high schools, 4 children, adopted and born to us, cross-country van trips, boating, church choirs. Life was full. I wrote a few books and taught Bible studies and was grateful to be mom and wife. We traveled the world as he came alongside fledgling broadcasters to help them with equipment and training. I loved seeing him pursue his passion, Christian broadcasting on every continent. Our future for this stage of life was planned. He'd continue his passion, we'd enjoy our grandchildren, and keep traveling the world. And then came amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. Bob was diagnosed with this deadly disease at age 61. No treatment, no cure. And I began a journey I would wish for no one, but it was ours. Our children and their mates rallied around us, and we loved him as best we could to the moment he graduated to heaven. God chose to heal Bob in heaven rather than here on earth. I looked for help and encouragement in the next months, and I could not find that practical, here's how, understanding and compassionate resource. As I muddled through that dark fog, I began to sense that I needed to create that resource. As I was teaching Bible to widows in Africa, A sense of mission grew in my heart and mind. God was definitely up to something. Looking back, it seems unreal that Widow Connection was incorporated exactly 1 year after Bob's death. The resource I was searching for is now a reality. So my final word, let's do this together, and thank you.
As I mentioned, this workshop is, and you can probably hear that in Miriam's description of her book and her ministry, it's for everyone. It's for those of us that are interested in living out this biblical principle of taking care of widows. It's for our widows, and it's for those that are interested in proactively planning for that inevitable event. You know, someone once said that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it. I'm really encouraged by the small group of folks that have been meeting to put this ministry together and launch it. It might not surprise you that they are widows, recent widows. And they have taken the opportunity to take a life experience and what they had to go through and pay it forward to help others go through it as well. Diane Strickler has led that group for the last several months. I'm going to ask Diane if she would go to the back, maybe with a couple of folks that helped her as we get ready for family prayer time. We're going to disperse to the perimeter of the sanctuary here. If the prayer leaders would go back there, I'm going to join Diane back here. And one thing I want to mention is this brochure you're seeing up on the screen. Diane handed me a note before I got up here and said, not only will they be available in the front and back foyers, but I'm going to surround every door in this auditorium, so you have no excuse to not pick one up. Please pick one up, take a look at it, and hopefully you can join us at that workshop.